All right, welcome in everybody to Variant Roundtable, episode 4. Whew! Today we have a whole lot to talk about, man. Wow, wow, wow. What a reveal we got yesterday. We got the confirmation of squads or parties, if you want to call it that, for Snapshot 6 for DEADROP coming up on July 11th. And man, there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. So I'm going to give it a minute, see if we can get some people to get in here. And again, everybody is welcome to speak. Everybody is welcome to, request to speak and chime in, get their opinions and things like that. And yeah, we're going to be talking all about our speculations, what we think is coming, or what else we think is coming. I mean, they've already basically confirmed the AI cleaners, and yesterday they confirmed the ability to party up with your friends. And man, it's exciting. So I'm going to give it just a second here, and we're going to see if we can get some people in here. What else? What else is new? Let's see. So while I'm waiting on more people to join up, let's go over a little bit of a schedule here. So we're going to do this roundtable today, like we always do for Fridays. Again, this is community driven. So anybody that has thoughts on the snapshot or what's coming up, feel free to request to speak. Later today, we're going to be doing variant intel. That is scheduled for 6 p.m. Eastern, live on my channels on youtube.com/ at HELMETFIRE and kick.com/HELMETFIRE. Those are going to be live streamed 6 p.m. Eastern for variant intel. Um, and then tonight is the final Friday night dead drop of Snapshot 5. So if you were waiting to get the lobbies to fill up, tonight is absolutely the night. Like I said, this one's, we're going to go out with a bang. This is the last Friday night dead drop of Snapshot 5. Now, of course, Snapshot 6 does not launch until Tuesday, the 11th, but, and I imagine people will be playing leading up to that, but the final, where the lobbies are packed the most during Friday night dead drop. So if you're able to play or you've been thinking about playing and you have access to the game, tonight is going to be the best time. The lobbies are going to be full, and it's going to be a blast. So we got CJOC in the house. We got Shots is in the house. Welcome, fellas. If anyone wants to speak and talk about your predictions for the upcoming snapshot, feel free to request to speak at any time. Yeah, I'm just going through, and I'll be talking about my predictions as well. I do have some comments on this. I really think what they've shown us so far is really interesting, and I think it leaves a lot to be, um, you know, what's the word, speculated about. So yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll go ahead. Like I said, I'll wait and see if anyone wants to request to speak. But I guess I can go ahead with my thoughts while I'm waiting on that. So right now we have two major key points that they've revealed for the snapshot. They've really been pushing hard on the whole cleaners and the AI mechanic. The only thing we really know about them is that they're gonna come into the map and try to take the loot off of people we defeat. Other players that we killed. They're supposed to come in and maybe guard the loot and try to take us out. That's kind of what we assume based on what we've seen. We don't know exactly how they'll work, and we don't know, you know, what triggers them to spawn in or anything like that. So that's all still kind of up for speculation. But yeah, they've really been pushing hard on the cleaners. Even Doctor Disrespect, put out a teaser image and showing him facing off against what looks like a cleaner. So that's pretty cool. So that's one of the major things. The second major thing was yesterday's announcement of parties, squads. And from the teaser, it looked like the maximum lobby size will be 3. So trios essentially is what it looks like it's going to be. So um, my speculation about this, I find this really interesting, right? Because if you think about marketing and you think about this upcoming snapshot, this is going to be such a, anytime they release a snapshot, it's a big thing, right? Snapshot 5, they did a full live event for. I don't think they're going to be doing a live event again for a while, but still, and yeah, the snapshot will be a large release and a big marketing push. So when you think about like, okay, if I'm a developer and I'm teasing the next big thing for my game, you know, I have only so much ammo to use for my marketing push. So my shots, I see your request. So I'm going to get you here in just a second. So to me, in my mind, I'm like, okay, squads is a big deal, huge. The AI is huge also. These are both really big deals to be coming to the game. And so I asked myself, I'm like, wait a minute, this can't be everything because they wouldn't if these were the two main features that were going to be for snapshot 6, they wouldn't have told us beforehand, right? So there must be something else that is going to come with this snapshot that is massive that they're holding off on, right? And I think that's where, based on all available information now, I am completely and 100% convinced, though it's my speculation, but I'm 100% convinced we're getting a new sector at this point. The visual language of everything, and now they've showed us cleaners and AI, so they burn through that ammo for their marketing. So to me, that says there's something much bigger. So here, let's get shots on board here. All right, shots, it's all you. What do you think, brother? Oh, looks like I lost him there for a second. Well, anyway. Oh, hold on. There he goes. Hold on.
Are we back now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So you were talking about the party system they're implementing, and you said you think it's going to be trios.
Yeah, so if you look at the video, it was like the main character and then two others, and I think the little graphic also had 3 spots. So it was all the available information says trios. I don't know if it's going to be more than that or if you'll be able to just go in with 2. Like we don't have specifics on that, but in the video it was the main character and then it zoomed out and there was 2 more indicating trios.
So as far as that goes, I'd have to agree with you. I definitely think it's trios, and I actually called that out probably about a month ago now. I made a video decoding the comic books that we find in game, and one of them has a cover of 3 figures on the front, and they're simultaneously counting down 3, 2, 1. And the way I broke that down was I took that as like a squad of people going in together, and since we had 3 on the cover, I took that as confirming trios, essentially at the beginning of the snapshot.
Yeah, that's super cool, and it is interesting because like that teaser they did recently with the capture the dev event where there was the 4 helmets on the table with the question marks and the frag grenade and all that. Like that was like what you said. Like myself and other variants and content creators all from that speculated that some kind of squads mode would come, and obviously there's 4 helmets, so I was thinking 4, but yeah, this teaser seems to show 3. But again, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see how you can mix and match. If you can queue solo, if I would assume you can queue solo. Like I said, that teaser yesterday kind of showed the mechanic of like how you would add a friend in and things like that. So, but overall, like just getting teams in general is so cool. So many players have been requesting this, and yeah, it's really cool. But go ahead.
Yeah, so as far as that goes with like queuing solo and stuff still, I think it's very much going to work similar to the way Tarkov works, where you can queue with up to a maximum of so many people. In this case, it seems 3, but you can also queue by at the risk of running into squads of more people than just solos running around. So I think it's still going to be everybody like separate playlists.
There was kind of a gap in that last sentence.
Oh, so I don't know the last thing you heard. I was saying I think it'll work like Tarkov to where like you queue in and everybody is still in one queue. There's not separate playlists. So you have the risk of running into a 3-man even if you queue solo.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know there's a lot of people are, talking about like wanting to queue solo and take on teams or, seeing how it makes it. Yeah. And I'm to that point, I am pretty curious because, yeah, like let's say me and you queue up and it's just the two of us. And like, can we queue against kind of any combination? I'll be curious to see how that works. Um, and yeah, I guess that's the best way to say it because there's a lot of combination potential and like I don't know, like if I consciously choose to only go in with myself or one other person and we go up against a team of three, like, well, we kind of made that choice. So, I wouldn't want it to be restricted that way. And honestly, I think it would probably cause too many problems to make it so like, oh, if you go in with a team of two, well, you're only going to queue up with a team of two. Like, I don't think there's enough player base to support that yet. You know what I mean? So I kind of hope that it's just like, hey, queue in however you want to queue in, and who's there is going to be who's there. That's kind of what I'm hoping it'll be.
So yeah, I'm fairly confident that's how it's going to be, just based on the history of the extraction shooter genre. That's typically how it is. That's how it works in Tarkov. That's how it works in the Cycle. That's how it works in DMZ. I mean, you can go through them all. That's pretty much how it works in every single one of them. I guess I kind of have a question for you now when it comes to the squad system. What are your thoughts on the possibility of friendly fire? Like, you get into a squad of three and you're fighting another squad of three, and your teammate walks across your line of sight and you end up hitting them. Are you for or against there being damage to teammates?
So I would say, generally speaking, because that's a really good question. And I'm trying to remember, man, because historically with first person shooters where you could have teams, if memory serves, most of the time you see friendly fire be kind of its own lobby, playlist or something. Like traditionally, like no, I would say like if I'm queuing up with a team, like no, I don't want to like be able to damage my teammates. Um, I think Halo had it where you could betray your teammates and stuff, which was quite hilarious. But with DEADROP being an extraction shooter and loot on the line, I would say a hard no. Like, I don't think that should be implemented at all. Or if you're gonna do that, it really needs to be its own separate thing, very specialized, because maybe for ranked or something. I don't know because like I think it's already hard enough for it seems like it's going to turn out to be a really competitive game. So for casual players, there's going to be some challenge to it there, right? And for less skilled players, that's the last thing a lower skilled player wants is to get smoked accidentally by their teammate, right? So, it's kind of a hilarious thing, and I think it has its place in first person shooters. But no, I would say generally speaking, I would prefer to not be able to damage teammates. And if you're gonna do that, I would really want it to be in its own mode.
So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep referencing Tarkov here for a second, but it they have friendly fire in there because I mean they just want to make it the most hardcore game possible. But like I've had countless times where I'll queue up with two of my friends in Tarkov and we'll come across a 1 or 2 man team, and one of us will just accidentally hit someone right in the back of the head, and oh, now you're out of the lobby. And so being I definitely understand being against it being in the game. At the same time, though, if we are queuing up to where a solo queues into lobbies with 3-man squads, I feel like it's a good method of balancing as well, because now it's not just all three of us stand next to each other and spray down this one player, it's, well, now you have to play a little more tactical as well. You have to be aware of your teammates. You have to communicate well. And I just personally, I think it adds another element to the game that isn't necessarily a bad thing. But me personally, I could go either way with it. I could be just fine without it, or I could see it being a ton of fun to have it as well.
Yeah, so I do want to be clear on my position. Like, I'm not saying no. I'm saying I think it should be separate because, and I understand that for every playlist you add in a game, it splits the player base that much more. But, if Dead Drop absolutely could go hardcore the way Tarkov does if they want. I just my vote would be, yeah, do that, but make it its own mode so people understand what they're going into ahead of time. And there are going to be those players that want to get super tactical, make it as hard of a challenge as they can, and maybe that mode has certain loot tied to it that you can only get in that mode, right? Like there's always incentives you can do, especially if loot is involved, to get people to try out different playlists and things like that. But for a general audience, again, like for a general audience, like no, I think the main mode should, if you're going to have squads or whatever, I think it should just be a little lax on that and say, no, you can't damage your teammates. But for those that really want that, hardcore deep dive challenge, then here, do this mode, right? And that's how I would do it if it was me. But I'm just, it's just my opinion.
Yeah, I get that. I completely understand it. The way I'm thinking about it right now is the more and more they show us and they tell us. I mean, I'm pretty sure Rob has flat out said that Dead Drop is going to be one game mode and everything else is going to be UGC. At least that's the way it sounds right now. And so, I mean, with Snapshot 6 right around the corner and them confirming teams, I think we're going to find out very quickly if there's going to be friendly fire or not. And I think it's going to be a big adjustment for a lot of players if it is in there, because that's not something you're used to in your typical Call of Duty unless you're playing hardcore, or DMZ doesn't have friendly fire. I don't believe the Cycle had friendly fire, but yeah, it's going to be a big change if it is there. And if it's not, then I do think somewhere down the line we'll see something for it come UGC.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and I could see that being the case, right, with Rob and what they've said about UGC um and man, and you're right, we are going to find out very soon. And I got to tell you, I'm going to laugh really hard if friendly fire is in the game. I won't be mad at it. I'll just adapt and figure it out. I still say it'd be a separate mode, but like even if it is in the game, like I'm cool with it, right? Because to your point, it's like even Doc has said, like, we want this to be a game where you look at the world around you and you think about what you're going to do. The geometry of the map should make you think tactically. What you bring in should make you think tactically, and the loot you pick up should influence those decisions too. Even when you pick up things, it should influence your decision making. So they're really serious about that design philosophy. And, to your point, yeah, if they did have friendly fire, it would play right into that just perfectly. And you're right, Tarkov does have it. I had forgotten because I don't play a lot of Tarkov or anything, but I've watched a lot of it. And yeah, I've seen, I don't know how many times I've seen Dr. Lupo be playing, and or Doc or whoever, and Tim Tatman, and they kill their own teammates, by accident. It's actually pretty hilarious. But I mean, in a game like Dead Drop, it's hard to say because we don't know how deep the loot pool is going to be later down the road. If they turn them into NFTs with real world value, now you're talking about a really, much more serious conversation, right? Because you play Tarkov and sure, you lose all your loot if you die and this and that, or if your teammate kills you, good luck recovering things. But, if that stuff's worth real money, that's going to be a really interesting point of controversy, I think. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what they do, but Friendly Fire, you've got my wheels turning for sure. I'm actually going to be looking forward to seeing if that's a thing. So I'll just have to make sure not to try it on my own teammates. That's all.
Yeah, so like you brought up the real world value of things later down the line when it comes to like the issue of team killing and stuff like that. And I'll once again use Tarkov as an example. That is, if you're intentionally killing teammates repetitively, it is actually a bannable offense in Tarkov, and they can lock down your account and they won't let you back in. But when we're bringing real world value into it, that definitely raises a lot of questions as to, is it a good idea to have friendly fire in it? So that's a really good point that I didn't even think about. But yeah, we'll wait and see. And then I don't know. My other thing is, how much do you think the pace of play is going to change come Snapshot 6? Because for most of Snapshot 5, we've had a lot of players who like to just run around and jump off everything. And, I think with the introduction of cleaners and, anything else we might encounter in the tower, possibly new grenades and gadgets, I think we'll still see a lot of fluent movement be a good option. But at the same time, like I was saying, I think we're going to see things get a lot more tactical really quickly.
Yeah, man, there's just so much. So on the last point on the, friendly fire bit is, yeah, man, I didn't know that in Tarkov, if you killed your own teammate repetitively, that it's bannable. To me, I think that's a interesting point of controversy because, I mean, if you can get banned for doing it too much, then why have it at all? But that's not me advocating for betraying your teammates constantly. That don't be a troll, right? Like I'm not saying any of that. But yeah, when you start adding real world money, um, that's it's like, yeah, my teammate just picked up something that's like super valuable, and I heard them say that they had it. Well, I'm just gonna kill them and take it. Like, yeah, I don't, that's you start getting in the rabbit hole with that. That's not a. I don't think I would condone that. But so as far as your question about Snapshot 6 speculation on mobility or pace of gameplay, I am personally expecting some big changes in this area. I know for a fact that Rob has said that they were looking for feedback on controller specifically. I know that Ryan Ratboy was saying just after Snapshot 5 released, pretty early on after that, that movement and getting it dialed in a lot more was a big focus of his. So, just overall movement, mobility, speed of, character animations and things like that. I'm expecting a lot of that to be, uh, you know, tweaked and updated. How different it is anybody's guess, but I am expecting some big changes in that area, and I'm really curious to see what that is. As a controller player, that's obviously a big thing that would be a quality of life upgrade for us. Even for mouse and keyboard players, that movement, we've talked about this in previous podcast episodes and stuff, where the movement, how it works now is every change of movement style, from crouching, running, walking, strafing, or whatever, like when you go to transition from one movement type to another, the momentum just dies. And DEADROP still plays really well for the state that it's in, but it's obviously pre-alpha, and so yeah, I think a lot of players are excited to see what that gameplay flow feels like from a movement standpoint in the coming snapshot for sure. Like I'm really excited to see what that is.
So yeah, I think we're going to see some big changes as well. I think we're going to see little things get improved on. Like we've talked about there being an issue where, you barely brush up against a wall and it completely takes away all your momentum and your movement. I think we're going to see things get a lot more fluent and smooth as far as stuff like that. Hopefully we see the auto mantle gone for good, because that thing is a pain to deal with. I finally found a way around it. I actually found a couple ways around it, but they're not foolproof. So for example, I'm sure you've come across the auto mantle where you're trying to like jump around a corner or something and you accidentally automatically mantle up a box. If you hit your button to put your weapon away, or you swap weapons mid mantle, it'll actually cancel the animation, which has saved me a few times, but it's still not a good feeling to have to deal with it. And like I said, it's not foolproof, so I think we'll see some improvements there. And I mean, I feel like we're just going to see a lot of quality of life improvements there.
Yeah, 100%, man. I do think I think we're gonna see a lot of quality of life on probably not just movement, but like just general character animation. Yeah, auto mantle. I remember like there's a lot of people that were really like, please just give us the ability to toggle it because like it's caused people to die in game because and that's okay, right? That's a great example of a work in progress build of the game and where it's at, right? Even with Snapshot 6 coming up, I mean, this is still unbelievably early. I mean, I don't know what, we talk about this all the time and maybe we harp on it a little too much, but I wonder if I wonder what how much longer before we reach the quote unquote finished launched product. Like obviously it won't be finished, they'll continue to support it, but like, like official release, right? I'm saying at least a year from now, but I mean it really could be like a couple of years, but I know they've said they would love to have it out within like, another year or so. But what do you think about that? Like we're about to hit Snapshot 6, but like when do you think DeadDrop will launch like on an official basis?
So my thoughts on that is currently we're in what they're calling the year of expansion. So now is the time where they're going to get all the big chunks done. And I feel like come January, we're going to hit what they're going to officially call the beta for the game. And I feel like that's where we're going to see a lot of like the balancing changes, just the little bug fixes that have gotten overlooked or weren't priority at the time. We're going to see some of the smaller features added. So personally, I don't think we see a full official release, not until next year, but the following year. So 2025 is when I think we'll see an official technical release for the game.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. I could see that being the case. I mean, they could always release it in an official way and just call it like early access. And then, like you said, maybe by 2025, it's like the full realized vision of the game. But I mean, for us, we're in the benefit of it all, right? Because having the founders pass, we get to play it between now and then constantly. So every few months we're getting something new, and so that's why I encourage anyone that may be listening to this that is on the fence about potentially purchasing a variant founders pass NFT. Like the value is only going to go up because DeadDrop is interestingly one of the best use case games in the Web3 space, if you want to even call it that, that has real use case NFTs, right? Like the NFT is our variant, it is our founders pass, but it transcends DeadDrop. DeadDrop is just one game from the studio Midnight Society. They're going to create more games, and this founders pass will transcend to those games. So it's the value proposition of that is something that I think a lot of people don't realize yet, but they will. So the people that are holding on to their NFTs now, um, and look, maybe you're not in it to sell the NFT, and I know there's a lot of people that are. I'm not here to kind of like go over that, but I'm just saying like in terms of the benefits of the Founders Pass and being able to access the game early and potentially other games in the future early, there's just nothing else out there like this. It's super interesting. So I do want to get into we have Andy. Andy popped in as a listener. Welcome. Again, whoever wants to speak, feel free. We're just going to be doing speculation on Snapshot 6. So this roundtable is for everybody. I do want to get into speculation about what could be coming in Snapshot 6 that we don't know about, right? Like, because I said earlier at the beginning of the show, hey, William Morris is in the house. By the way, shout out to William. William, if y'all aren't following him on Twitter, be sure to go follow him because he's been dropping custom music tracks inspired by the world of DEADROP as his inspiration. And these are some of the most fire tracks you're ever going to listen to. So if you haven't checked those out, go check them out. Welcome, William. Glad you're here. I want to hear some speculation on what we could be seeing in Snapshot 6, because again, what I said earlier in the show, when you're a developer and you're marketing a release of your next thing for your game, you have talking points, marketing points to market the game, right? Well, they've showed us AI cleaners, and they've showed us now the squads, party system. And my brain immediately says, you know what? I'm totally convinced that we're getting a new sector because the visual language and what they've revealed so far. I'm like, they still have to have something to reveal on the reveal date, right? Like, in other words, if the AI and the squads, if that was it, well, they wouldn't have told us everything yet, right? If that was everything, they wouldn't have told us everything yet. So there must still be something huge on the horizon for this. And again, I'm totally all in on it being a new sector. So if anybody else has any input on that, go ahead.
So yeah, I think there's a couple things being definitely overlooked by the community on possibilities of what we might get, and I'm with you. I'm fairly convinced that we'll be getting some form of a new sector. But the thing that I keep coming back to is I think we're getting the hideout. I really do, at least to some extent. Like the entire Capture the Dev promo image they released, the entire thing was the hideout. You had the weapon wall in the back. You had the dummy from the firing range. I'm still convinced the helmets on the table were alluding to being able to display variant tags in your hideout. I think, the grenades and stuff on the table are a teaser as like, here's the stash system in the hideout. The spray paint was on that picture as well, so maybe we'll see the previous version of the garage return. I don't think we're going to see the final version of that, but I think at the very least we're getting a partial hideout back.
I agree with everything you said, and I think it's all plausible, right? Midnight Society is really good at teasers, and they're very specific on their visual language, right? And shout out to all the artists over there, and Darren and all the other team of artists that are working on this stuff. Anyone that has a hand in creating these marketing materials, my hat's off to you folks, because it really, if you look at it, it is they like to throw in teasers, very subtle stuff that you wouldn't pick up originally, but if you kind of keep it in the back of your head, 9 times out of 10 you're pretty close in the ballpark of what may be coming. But yeah, I mean, that image, that Capture the Dev image, really did, it showed off, like you said, it was the same table from the hideout. It was, they had the training dummy with a vest on, which to me says maybe we're going to have a way to find out damage numbers. I hadn't thought about like a stash in the hideout. I hadn't thought of that, but it makes sense. And then displaying the visor cortexes with the question marks and everything. Like, yep, it's all plausible, and everything we've seen up to this point. Again, with Rob's tweet where he talked about how he asked the studio to like chill out, and they told him, GTFO, because we're just excited and we're going ham on this stuff. Like, and now, with yesterday's reveal of squads, I'm like, that just added more fuel to the fire for me, because I'm like, there's no way they would have revealed something as big as squads if that's all they had, if that was their biggest item, right? There's no way they would have burned that before the reveal unless they have something else or more things to offer, right? To surprise us with. So yeah, I'm calling it. I think we're gonna get a new sector. I think we're getting the hideout back. Um, all of the above. So yeah. And if anybody else has any other input, feel free to request to speak if you'd like. William, you're more than welcome to talk about some of your music, and if anybody else has any questions or thoughts, go ahead. Just feel free to request to speak. And yeah, if there's any other comments, shots, you can go ahead.
So yeah, I got another question for you based on Snapshot 6, kind of. So with the launch of Midnight Society's website and everything, they have that little store page. Do you think we see any Snapshot 6 themed merch? Like, I've heard a few people reference possibly a Space Bob bobblehead would be awesome to go along with the Optic bobblehead, and just a few more things up there just to drive people in and maybe snag a few items.
I am all for merch. Like if they want to do a merch drop and get some exclusive items, like I'm always going to say yes to that stuff. As a gamer and a gaming enthusiast, like, I think this is pretty universal with a lot of gamers. Like we all like to collect memorabilia from our favorite titles, right? Whether that's games or movies or whatever. And some people collect on a small scale, some very large, and some in between. But yeah, like with DEADROP, like I went to the Snapshot 5 event, and I probably spent too much money. I got the bobblehead and the hoodie and the jacket and all this stuff. I didn't buy everything. I'd probably be refinancing my house if I had bought everything. But memorabilia, yeah. If they come out with like a merch drop, I think that'd be sick. I will say on the merch drop, I hope that let me. How am I going to word this? I would like to see if they're going to do a merch drop, especially Space Bob related. Which, by the way, I'm glad you said Space Bob. We're going to talk about that. Let me finish my thought on the merch. So I hope that they integrate something in game. Like, let's say you had a Space Bob bobblehead. Like, can I have that for my hideout too, please? Like, that would be so sick. But back to it. I'm glad you brought up Space Bob because I had almost forgot. Like, I had almost forgot how much they've been teasing him. But lately, the teasers have been, hey, the cleaners, the AI, hey, we're getting squads. They've totally seemed to turn attention away from Space Bob, which, I'm glad you said that because now I'm really interested. So that's just another thing to add to it, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are forgetting about Space Bob right now, and it's like I go back to the variant guide on a regular basis. I just see that image in there every time at the end of it, and it's like we're getting Space Bob in Snapshot 6, and he's another reason that I am fairly confident we're getting an iteration of the hideout, because in Rob's AMA, he flat out said the hideout is where we are going to interact with Space Bob. He confirmed that. Now, I know things are always subject to change. We're very early, development can change, plans can change, but he did flat out say we will interact with Space Bob in the hideout. And I think part of that is going to include getting some tasks, some missions from him to go in. And maybe Space Bob wants us to bring him, 5 obelisks or bring him a floppy disk, and you get rewarded based on that. And maybe we'll start to see some of the skill system that they started to talk about coming to the game a little bit with that. So I don't know. I think Space Bob's going to be big, and I think they're kind of just trying to misdirect from him a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. I really could. That makes sense. And I did not know that Rob said that very specifically. So that's interesting. But I mean, it makes sense, right? If you're gonna put Space Bob in the game, I mean, it's kind of just like I don't want to say he's a meme. He's just more like a fun entity that, people, that we can all have fun with. So I think that's kind of having him as a vendor would be a perfect, appropriate like way to utilize him, right? Um, maybe it's just like Zur in Destiny for those that play Destiny, right? Like to me, that's a perfect use case. But I also like what you said about like which I think Tarkov. Correct me if I'm wrong, shots, but Tarkov I think has this. And William, I see your request. I'm going to get you in just a second. Um, the quest, like you said, like bring me this amount of stuff and you could get these rewards. Like I very much hope that that's a thing in Dead Drop. Even if it's not in Snapshot 6, I hope it comes in the future because that's something about Tarkov I really like is like you have a really vast loot pool and you have these vendors you can, you have this in-game marketplace and these vendors and there's special quests you have to go on. So I definitely want all that in Dead Drop. Let's go ahead and get I'll let you reply and then we're gonna get William up here. Yeah, go ahead, shots if you had something, and then we're gonna get William up here.
Their quests are based around bringing out items, as well as they did add their first in-game vendor to where like you actually go in and find him on the map and interact with him. So it'll be interesting to see if we see something like that in the future too.
Absolutely, man. All right, let me get William up here. Hold on. All right, what's going on, William? Talk to us.
Doing well. I appreciate the shout out, so I really do. I just wanted to say thank you for sure. I don't have too much time today, but I'm willing to lend in a word wherever I can here if you got some speculation handy. So
Yeah, yeah, no problem on the shout out. Just real quick, while you're here, just tell us what you're thinking. Like, what are we gonna get for Snapshot 6 that hasn't already been revealed?
yeah, I mean, it's hard. There's so many teasers out there, like you don't want to believe it all. But I genuinely think, like, Shats is right. I mean, Hideout for sure. That's kind of been overlooked. Uh, and for me, I didn't have access to the previous snapshots, so I'm excited to get back in there myself and you know practice like the little training setups that they got there and all that. If they implement it again, that would be really cool. Um, but man, I don't know. Like, I don't want to get my hopes up too much because genuinely, like, I hope they put some kind of movement gadget in there, or maybe increase movement in some way. Like you can go up zip lines. I've heard that a lot, like lately. So maybe there'll be something like that. But once they get that movement down, I think Dead Drop will have even more of an identity, just because there's nothing like it, just going up and down the tower super quick and slick. But everything else has been kind of mentioned, it seems.
You know what? I hope for anybody listening out there, especially the developers, Rob, if you or anyone else that are listening to this later on, I don't see any reason why we couldn't have some kind of cool cameo kiosk in the game where like it's kind of like a jukebox, maybe for the hideout. Like this is my proposal. This is my support for William and his music. I'm going to advocate at the bare minimum. If you don't hire this man, which I think you should, uh, let's put a jukebox in the hideout with his music. That's going to be my vote. So I think it's so good, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. That's a really cool idea there. I've thought myself, like, whether it's my music or anybody's, like there's such an opportunity for musicians like myself that like look at the music industry and like they just cringe, like how do I enter that? And like maybe the answer is not through the industry, maybe it's through like gaming, like maybe it's another love that we all kind of have, and like the potential for UGC in relation to that, like I don't know, like we could really help artists find their own identity, own their own work, you know, and be valued for that. Not all the power and stuff going to the labels and all that. But yeah, like you have the jukebox idea. That's great. Like I was thinking, like even in your Cortex, you could have like a little radio thing kind of going, similar to Fallout. Um, you know, or you definitely got to have it in the car. You know what I mean? Like you got to have some tunes going in the car when you're racing and stuff. Like that's where all this started for me. Really, it was like thinking, well, if you're gonna add vehicles, you're gonna have some dope music playing. If it's made by the community, all the better, you know. But so yeah, those are my thoughts.
I think those are fantastic ideas, 100%. You know, especially the fact that it's community made, right? It's made by a community member. Like you said, they've teased the car coming back in Snapshot 7, which by my calculations, Snapshot 7 should come up sometime around October, um, maybe late September. But yeah, like whether we have a jukebox in the hideout or some kind of, you know, we can turn it on in our visor cortex, our helmets, or the cassette tape, the cassette tape in the car, right? That's actually the most perfect example, better than a jukebox. Yeah, if they implement something with the car down the road where you can, you know, it's like Death Race and you're driving to the tower or something, and yeah, I want to throw something in the tape deck and jam out to that music, man. I think that'd be sick.
Yeah, me too, man. Just picture the animation, you know, like you'd have to put a little bit of effort into it. You couldn't just have like a menu and select it. You gotta pull out the tape, you know, you gotta slam that thing in there, you gotta hit play like your character does, like animation wise. Shout out to Henry if he's ever listening. That's his job. So but yeah, no, that'd be so cool, man. Like I that's the dream, you know. But I'm keeping my hopes low. Let the community do their work.
No, 100%, man. You just keep cooking over there. We're gonna let you cook because that's what you're good at, and I'm down for that. Any of the above ideas I think would be great. It's so cool that this community is already shaping up to be incredible. I mean, you got Mayor doing some cool live action stuff. You're doing music. We got people doing graphic work. I mean, OMA is just slaying it right now, dude. He just drops OMA. Shout out to OMA Monster. He just dropped some more graphics today. Look, for all the listeners out there, by the way, welcome Crimson, Andy, Siege, Shots. I see all you guys in here. Anybody else that's listening later on the YouTube channel, like this community is one that you are going to want to get involved with. Even if you don't get a founder's pass, that's okay. You can end up getting a tower key later, or when the game opens up more for more players. Believe me when I say that. Even if like DeadDrop isn't calling to you, it's not like the kind of game that you normally play. I would employ anybody to come and hang out in this community for a while because I think there's really something for everybody on offer, and the community's only growing and it's only going to get bigger, right? And to all the Web3 folks out there, again, when you're talking about utility with Web3 games, like DeadDrop is leading the charge. And I'm starting to see more and more Web3 people say that. And it's true, right? You know, what this game's NFT Pass offers is really just scratching the surface of what they're trying to do. But again, I do want to focus on the community. That's what this show's for. That's what Variant Intel is for. We have a collection of people of all walks of life that are offering some amazing content and just overall general friendship, right? And it's so much fun. And now Snapshot 6 is going to have teams, so you're going to be able to team up. Shout out to Lolo Hales. She she is probably one of the most excited about teams from what I've seen her say, because proximity chat in DeadDrop is fantastic. It's really good, and it's only going to get better. But there's something about trying to make friends over prox chat in the heat of the moment, and it doesn't always work out, right? So having a true proper teams mode of some kind, I think, is going to benefit a lot of players. I think a lot of people are going to have fun. And hey, here's the good news. More than likely, it seems to be the case. I don't want to say it's 100% confirmed, but for those like Cairo and some of the higher skill players that want to queue in solo just for the challenge, I think it seems like you're going to be able to do that. Again, not 100% confirmed, but I think that might be the case. So again, I think there's something for everybody. And yeah, so look, I want to open it up one last time. So anybody else that wants to speak, wants to ask any questions, who wants to speculate on what we might get for Snapshot 6 coming up, go ahead, request to speak. Let me know what you're wanting to do and what you got to say, and we'll get you up here. All right, Siege, let's get you up here. Hold on. Let me approve. All right, Siege, go ahead. What you got, brother?
There we go. You can hear me, right? All right,
Yep,
cool.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, what you were saying about the whole trio thing, I think with solos, that has to be an option. We don't know how like populated lobbies will be for the next 3 months. Hopefully they're, populated pretty well, especially towards the end of the snapshot. So I think solos are a must. I don't think they can only do trio queues. I don't think that could be a thing. Like, I could be wrong. I would hope I would be wrong, but I think solos are needed. You can't just force trio queues.
Yeah.
So
Oh, go ahead, Shots.
I was just gonna jump in there and talk about how we were saying like we think it's all gonna be one queue regardless of if you're solo or trio, and I'm certain that's how it's gonna work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As long as it's not forced that you have to do trio is what I mean. Like, as long as you have the option to queue solo. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you'll have that option. I also don't think there'll be like separate playlists for it. I think it's going to be one queue regardless of how many people, and I think it's gonna stay that
I
way.
think that's how it should be too, especially like until later on, until it gets more populated. So I do agree with that direction for now.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I agree with all the above. I do believe that it's going to be one lobby that queues up, and who picks how many's on their team is what they pick, and just go at it and have fun, right? Like, to me, that makes the most sense because Siege, what Shots and I were talking about earlier, is like, down the road when the game has more population, that's when you can start building separate playlists because, as you know, in any shooter, if the more playlists you create, the more you separate the player base. So obviously for DEADROP right now, it's way too early, way too low of a lobby sizes to be splitting them. So I don't think for a second they're going to split them. I think it's one just general queue, and you can bring in people if you want or go in solo if you want. That's what I'm speculating.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go about it anyway. That way, again, you're going to keep the consistency and the snapshot, pretty populated throughout those 3 months. Because now that we're not in that 6 to 8 week development, 3 months is a long time. So we had experience that with Snapshot 5, and as it's gotten closer to the next snapshot, the player base dwindled down. So, but that's natural. It's in pre-alpha. It's understandable. But for sweats like me, Shots like everybody, we just want to play this every day. So I'm hoping Snapshot 6 can be that even 2 months in. We can hop it at any time, and the lobbies are going crazy. At least 10, 15 player type of thing. That's what I really want. And maybe that's too much to ask at this early stage of development, but I like to think, especially when console players come into play, that the population won't be a problem at all.
Yeah, absolutely. The coolest part about all this is like the developers are totally aware of everything we've said here today, and like, because it's been echoed throughout the community since like day one. So the coolest thing is like Midnight Society. That's one thing I'll say. Also, to their credit, aside from all the great community engagement that they do, like up to this point, they have really taken variant feedback and player feedback and done everything they can to implement everything they can. Um, you know, with each snapshot release so far, they always seem to over deliver for these snapshots. And that's with understanding on our part that, like you said, Siege, where, you know, it is still early. Like, they're not gonna be able to squeeze in everything, but it is cool as the player to know that, hey, they know about it and they do care and they are excited about it. And we know that eventually, yeah, we are gonna probably get those things or something in the realm of it. And then, once a feature launches, then we can digest it, talk about it, give our feedback, go through the process, and then they can iterate on it. And having Midnight Society be so involved with the Founders Pass holders and the way they're implementing that feedback is truly special. And that's another reason I implore people to come try it out. Come over to the community. Come hang out with us. Try DEADROP if you can. And trust, and I'll say this too, for those who are trying to get into DEADROP but don't have a tower key or a way to get in, trust me when I say many of the variants and many of the creators are right on the heels of the developers begging for more tower keys as politely as we can. And they know they have a vision, from all accounts right now, it doesn't look like they're going to be doing more tower keys for Snapshot 6. We are all holding out hope that for the launch, they'll maybe have some to give away or maybe give some to some creators to give away. We don't know yet. Okay. We don't have confirmation on that, but for those that are wanting to come in and check it out, trust us, trust, myself and many other creators and people here in this live, this Twitter spaces right now. We're all advocating for that, right? Because the community is really awesome and we want more people here. We want more people to fill the lobbies. It's so much fun, especially when the lobbies are full. God, it is chaos, man. It's the best chaos in the world when the lobbies are full. I think the max was like 32 right now. And I hopped into that last Friday and it was like a 32-man lobby and I almost crapped my pants. I was like, this is like nuts. So, I know a lot of people are excited about that too. So, hey, again, real quick, if anybody else has any last minute comments, Cheesecake, I saw you come in here. If anybody wants to request to speak, now's the time to do so. We're going to wrap it up here in a couple minutes. Shots, go ahead.
So yeah, just to add on to what you said about, people coming into the community, come on in. And if you're looking for a way to get into the tower and you're not looking to buy a Founders Pass right now, be on the lookout for the launch of Snapshot 6 because I know a lot of creators have been stacking their tower keys and they're going to be giving them away come the launch. So just be on the lookout for that, guys.
Yeah, great point. I'm glad you said that because I had forgot. I'm out. I didn't really have many in the beginning, and but I do know some creators are sitting on some. So that's a really good call out. So yeah, for people listening, be on the lookout for the DEADROP creator streams and stuff, just in case because you never know. And like I said, I've never been more excited to be a part of a community in gaming before. It's really cool what not only the camaraderie of it all is, but just the things people are creating. It's just something. It's unlike anything I've ever been a part of. So I welcome everybody to come in and try it out. And even if DEADROP ends up not being for you, you never know. Your best friend that you've ever made in your whole life could be here. I've seen that story so many times in other gaming communities where especially COD and Halo and even Destiny, where some of the best of friends were made just by hanging out in said communities, and I suspect that'll be the same for here, and I'm excited about it. So, we're already at about an hour, so I'll give one last chance if anybody wants to speak or give their 2 cents on what they're speculating Snapshot 6 to be. Go ahead and request to speak, and I'll give you just a second, and then we're going to wrap it up after that. All right, no takers right now, so that's fine. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up, so I'll do my plugs, and then we'll get out of here. So Variant Roundtable, which is this is Twitter Spaces. This is a community driven thing for DEADROP. So every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll do these Twitter Spaces where we all come together. Every voice is welcome. We all want to talk about the game, what's new, what's good, what we're excited about, and all of those things. So Variant Roundtable every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, what's next on the schedule is Variant Intel, which is a podcast that I do on my channels every Friday, live streamed at 6 p.m. Eastern. And you can find that at youtube.com/@HelmetFire and kick.com/HelmetFire. And again, that's going to be here at 6 p.m. Eastern. and it'll go for about an hour. We'll have a special guest on. This week we're going to hit a little bit more on the Web3 side of things, and of course talk a little bit about Snapshot 6 and what we think is coming. So thanks everybody for hanging out. I really appreciate everybody's participation, input, hanging out, listening, lurking, everything like that. And yeah, I hope to see you all very soon in the tower, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one.